All right. Bernadette Desir, welcome to ENTV today. I'm very excited to be interviewing you today. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. Ed, so ENTV today, if you've not met Bernadette yet, Bernadette has a podcast. We're going to talk about that because you're actually someone that's doing this like, you're going after it. So for those that don't know you, let's talk about, first of all, what do you do in the world and how do you do it? Before we get into why you do it, how you got into it.
Yeah, absolutely. As you introduced the podcast, my name is Bernadette Desir, and my podcast is called the Unleashing Potentials Podcast. I first started recording probably 3 years ago, and it started with me just talking to myself, sharing my experiences with people, and also going to my local library. I picked certain books that stood out to me, and I would read them, reference the author and what I was reading and record episodes that way. And it gradually progressed into me sharing my personal journey, which took me some time. But essentially, as I was sharing, I'm like, I think there are people who are actually going through exactly what I'm going through. And maybe those people are not sharing it as openly. So that's kind of what started the birth of the podcast. Just me wanting to make room for people, create the space for them to share their triumphs, their joy, their failures, and just their learning experience and what they are hungry for in life. So, and I'm still doing my podcast. So I'm hungry and I'm looking for hungry people who are fearless and who can come and share with no shame.
Wow. Now that's a sales
Yeah.
pitch. I love that. There's a lot of people in this community that would
Mhm.
fit that bill. So where did this
Yeah.
start? This hunger? Like as a
Mhm.
kid, what were you doing as a kid?
Good question. So I was born and raised in Haiti. And going there, it was hard, challenging, and it taught me to so many lessons. It forced me to grow up faster than I should as a child. And I was raised in an orphanage as well. So I was adopted. I'm in Canada now. And it started there. I think no matter what country we're in, growing up, going to school, and having older siblings, regardless of the situation, I think all of us get programmed a certain way. And as I grow older and sort of wiser and had kids and right, it's just the things that I was forced to view as other people's opinion, they just didn't apply to me. So it forced me to figure out and discover who I was apart from what I was molded to be, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Well, I got to ask, what is it like in an orphanage? What was your experience like?
Um, Good question. It was tough. It was tough. I did see my bio family. They would come visit. There were some good memories, some bad memories, and there was sexual assault and abuse as a child there. And I enjoy having to learn English, even though it was very hard. People tell me your English is so good. I'm like, you have no idea, because I had to learn it there as well. So there was good and bad in the orphanage. Overall, after reflecting on everything I've experienced there, unfortunately and happily, I would not change anything because I'm here right now and I'm doing a podcast and I'm helping people.
Where did you get your resilient mindset from? Like what is your you got something built on something. So what is your life built upon? Because there's you got a bedrock that you're talking about very serious things like, yeah, that happened. It was hard, but I'm thankful to like how do you
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Life happens. I decided, I believe that life is meant to be lived. Sometimes we let life live us. And the minute I chose to live life instead of allowing my circumstances or situation or the pain um, move me, I decided to follow my heart. And I think when we follow the heart, you can't go wrong. You may go wrong and may need to steer a little bit when you start to stay up there a little too much, which I've stayed there quite a bit. But yeah, I would say my experiences have made me who I am and built the resilience and the mystery that no one can really tap into when it comes to myself. Yeah, yeah,
Are you passing this on to your kids? Are they, yeah?
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I always a marvel at mindsets.
Mm,
You know, ever heard that story of this guy had two sons or two daughters, and I think it was two boys, and he was alcoholic, abusive, all the
mm,
things. And they
mhm,
interviewed the two boys 10 years, 20 years later when they were like 40. And the
yeah.
first one, his life was shambles. And they at the end of it said, "What do you attribute your life to?" And they said, "Well, you know who my father was." And then
Mm,
they go to the other boy, and the boy is the opposite, very, very successful in every way of success. And at the end of
mhm,
it, they say, "What do you attribute your life to?" And they say, "Well, you know who my father was." And I
mm,
just find it interesting that you're so. Did you formulate this attitude in the orphanage? Who taught you? How did you learn to think about problems and see them as opportunities? Where did that come from?
My mother, from my mother. Um, I Haiti is a poor third world country. It's going through quite a bit right now. I've been talking about that on the podcast quite a bit. But it would be my mother. She had two, three jobs, and she did everything and anything that she could to take care of me and my siblings. And I remember she was selling bread one morning. She had to get up very early, and someone pulled a gun right at her head right there. And she never fully told me the full story, but she survived. Nothing happened to her. And throughout my life and childhood, this woman has taught me so much. And I owe her everything for what she taught me, because the lessons and things that she has taught me, how she has guided me, you can't find those in textbooks. And I haven't found them in the classroom as well. It's just a different type of learning and lesson and guidance that she's given to me. And I'm passing that on to the world, to my kids, and to myself as well.
Well, let's talk about unleashing potentials. So,
Yes.
what are you most passionate about and why? And what are you aiming at? And all
Mhm.
the things. What are you going for?
Yeah, yeah. Unleashing potentials. I had to unleash my potential before I could tell people how to unleash theirs, because I think there's power in us modeling what we're trying to model to other people, if that makes sense. Um, Unleashing potentials. I grew up in two different cultures, Haitian, Canadian, English, and my language. So I had to marry those two cultures and language and cultures and everything about them together. When I think of the word unleash, is to release, to let go, to be free from, and to just be. I grew up with two different cultures. One was more open-minded, the other wasn't. So I was left in between, to decide, how am I going to express myself and show up for myself? Because at times it was suffocating, because I was told to be good, to be quiet, to be respectful, all those expectations that society puts on us. It can be so much, so suffocating. So I decided to, when I visualize it, it's just rising up from the ashes, rising up from who I know I'm supposed to be. And in a way, not caring who will judge me, because there will always be judgment. And I use those as fuel instead of letting them burn my fire.
How do
But
you
yeah,
how
go
do you
ahead.
use them as fuel? How? Specifically, what do you do?
Oh, I absolutely love when people tear me down for some reason, because when people do that, it is a reflection of what they're experiencing, of what they've been through. I'm sure you've heard of this saying that hurting people hurt people. So I choose to love people that hurt me and people that are hurting, because when you put love into anything, it nourishes something in people, whether it's the soul, the spirit. And I've had people say, you should be mad at me for the way I talk to you. Why are you smiling? Why are you being nice to me? And I said, because I love you, because I can, because I've been maybe not exactly where you've been, but it felt like a memory to me. So I will surrender and I will be calm and I will sit with you in your pain. And I think people need that. People seek and crave to be heard because there's so much noise going on in this world. And it's so easy for us to be absorbed by it and not listen to what's coming from inside of us, which is our spirit, the very thing that guides us. It's like a map.
So how do you navigate the map then? What are you listening to?
Good question. I make sure I take care of my mental health, physical health. Again, it's not about looking good. It's about nourishing what I know I should nourish. I meditate and I just enjoy the small blessings in life and just gratitude. I have so much gratitude for the smallest things. I at times it may feel like it's stupid that I do, but when you're from a country that is at the lowest at the low, um, yeah, I have gratitude for hot water because I've had to carry hot water or cold water, hot or just water on my head as a kid. And I've had to carry laundry down the river on my head at the market. So when I open my door, I'm grateful that I have a home to be in, to go to, and grateful for a bed for my kids. And I can see, I can talk. It's just those small blessings and small things often we just brush them off because that's our normal. And some of us don't, we have the ability to do it. We don't always go into what we don't know because change is very hard and it's not a comfortable place to be. I just practice gratitude.
Wow. So what does this look like for your kids then? Because they're raised in Canada. How
Yeah.
do you convey these lessons to them?
Yes, yes. Um, I teach them by watching them, and also they teach me by me watching them. Um, I paint quite a bit, so I would invite them to paint, to journal, and just to exchange love with love. You know how siblings bicker, right? So I would reverse the role. I would say, how would you feel if that's what this person did to you? This is how I'd feel, happy or angry, but why would you do it to them? Right? And they would give me their answer um, as to why they would do it or why they wouldn't do it. I think our kids, they see so much more than we can imagine. They see everything. So that's kind of how I help and guide them.
Well, thank you for that. Where is your podcast going? What are your goals then? 2024 into 2025. What are you aiming at?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping to get more and more people to come share on the podcast and to help people unleash and open up their hearts and rise up from everything that they've been through and to continue to radiate love in their community around the world and to be themselves. So many of us, we put on a mask just to fit in. And I'm lovingly guiding and encouraging people to take it off because it's time. Maybe it's been decades, maybe it's been a few months, few years, and to also sit with people in their pain. Often when people go through pain, they assume or feel that they're alone when they're not. So that's my goal, to get more people to come on the podcast, to share, to network with amazing people like yourself and maybe other people who's watching as well, and to just help each other. I think we need each other.
Agreed. Well, thank you, Bernadette, for being here. This has been
Yeah, yeah,
amazing, power packed. Any
yeah.
links you got after, like your podcast, anything else, please drop in the
Yeah.
comments section of your post. Closing remarks?
Yeah. I would say to people to be themselves and to look in the heart, to search and to overcome the fears, to remove the limits, the barriers, and the expectations, the pressure, and to just sit with their pain and for them to live life. Life is meant to be lived and cherished, and to flip the switch a little bit. Often we may say, this happened to me, but I think that life is happening for us instead of to us. If we can use the challenges and everything we've been through and flip it around and learn from it, that's what I would say to people. Continue to unleash your potential.
Beautiful, well put. Thank you, Bernadette Desir, for being here.
Yes.
ENTV today. Connect with Bernadette. If you resonate with that, she'd love to interview you, have you on her podcast.
Mhm.
I don't remember how you said it at the very beginning, but you said a beautiful sentence. It'll be in the show notes, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
thank you for being eloquent, straight to the point, and you're
Mhm.
you're living it. You're not just talking about it.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
My pleasure. We'll end the broadcast here. Thanks for watching ENTV.
Thank you.